What's happening, everybody? Welcome to the very first episode of the Whiskey Boys Solo Adventures. My name is Nick, and I'm going to be your host today. I just want to thank everybody from the bottom of my heart for taking a listen today. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell. It really does mean a lot to us to have your support. I want to also remind everybody that every Thursday we host the Whiskey Lounge, where a bunch of us guys just get together, we talk politics, we talk about our opinions, and just the state of the union. You know, we talk about the biggest stories of the week, or at least what we feel the biggest stories of the week are. We talk about the cultural ramifications, and we talk about what it means for everybody else. So, without further ado, I also want to show everybody about our Twitter account, the Whiskey Boys Podcast, with the Twitter handle @WhiskeyBoyPod. Where we just follow people, we make posts, and we just talk about crazy things that are going on in the world and try to reach a broader audience. Now, my name is Nick. I'm going to be your host today. Got a couple things I want to try to get out of the way first. I am a guy who's very opinionated. I'm going to be reading some articles. I'm going to be giving my opinions about what's going on and what kind of cultural ramifications that these stories can have on all of us, as well as talk about the hypocrisy and just blatant ignorance of the mainstream media about how they've been treating just normal, everyday people for the last several years. I finally got tired of it. Figured might as well start complaining on the internet. So, complain on the internet I shall today. Let's start off the very first episode with Woody Harrelson and his Saturday Night Live monologue that is just sweeping the news right now because apparently he is a COVID conspiracy theorist. Not really. He's not a COVID conspiracy theorist. He's just a guy who said something that the mainstream media didn't like because he called out the machine and he called them out for what they're doing and how they're run, and they just don't like seeing the writing on the wall. They don't like seeing all of their lies and everything that they say to the American people just get thrown up in their face and have to try to explain it. Now, let's see. What did Woody Harrelson actually say? Quote, "The biggest drug cartels in the world get together and buy up all the media." Okay, that's probably what got them mad, but let's read the full quote so you can get the full context. Quote, "So the movie goes like this. The biggest drug cartels in the world get together and buy up all the media and all the politicians and force all the people in the world to stay locked up in their homes. And people can only come out if they take the cartel's drugs and keep taking them over and over." Okay, so this is probably just a skit. This is probably just all fun and games. But how true is that? Take a second, take a step away from the tribal right. Take a step away from the tribal left. Try to forget about everything your side is telling you need to believe. All you have to do is just watch TV and see all of the big pharma ads. All you have to do is just go on to CNN, go on to MSNBC, go on to any of those mainstream media websites and see how many big pharma commercials there are. See how many segments are sponsored by Moderna, sponsored by Pfizer, sponsored by the people who are getting angry at his monologue. So he's calling out these cartels, which is essentially what Big Pharma is. They're just all big, giant cartels. He's calling them out for buying up all this ad space, being some of the biggest donators and biggest ad buyers for these mainstream companies, and talking about how they rule the roost. What they say goes. When you get to be in these major media companies, regular people, regular everyday listeners, they are not their target audience. Do you know who the target audience for all these mainstream media outlets are? The target audiences are who's paying them. It's the people who buy the ad space. It's the people who sponsor them. It's the people who are writing the check to keep everything going. They don't care about giving you honest stories. They don't care about giving you honest coverage. They would much rather give you coverage to spread a narrative, and this goes for both sides, for people who are going to be paying them and keeping everything going. They don't want to give you the truth, which is why I tend to stay away from the mainstream media, and I like to pay, and I like to subscribe to Timcast. I like to subscribe to the Daily Wire. I like reading the New York Times, which they have some good articles, they have some bad articles, but you have to be able to go around and read from multiple spectrums. You got to read CNN, you got to watch CNN, you got to watch Fox. You got to go through all of these different outlets to try to get some semblance of the truth. If you are able to do all the extra searching that you have to do in order to be able to find the truth, then you know what? You come out ahead. But not everybody has that time. So that's what I'm here for. That's what the people over at Timcast are there for. That's what the people at the Daily Wire are there for. They are there to make sure that you know what is going on, and they are there to make sure that you get the truth. Let's continue on, because with the COVID-19 conspiracy theories that apparently Woody Harrelson is spewing out, there's another major conspiracy theory that if you stated on YouTube or you stated on any kind of outlet, you were either kicked off the platform, you were given strikes, you were told it was false information, and or you were just laughing stock because you are a conspiracy theorist that like to wear tinfoil hats, and you probably took the horse medicine that they all talked about all the time. And do you know which theory I'm talking about for that one? I am talking about the lab leak theory. New classified documents from the Energy Department says fresh intelligence led officials to draw a conclusion that the virus escaped from a lab in China. Okay, this is not some wild conspiracy. This is not just some fringe person on the internet trying to make up a story. No, this is from the U.S. government. This is coming from the Department of Energy. So, everyone who took the vaccination, everybody who did exactly what the government told them to do, you can't argue this one because now it is coming from your overlords' mouths. Let's read. U.S. government officials now conclude that the COVID-19 pandemic most likely originated through a leak from a laboratory, according to a classified report sent to the White House and key congressional members. Let's continue. The determination was made in an intelligence report from the Department of Energy and comes 3 years after evidence the lab leak theory was first presented publicly. Previously undecided on how the virus emerged, the Energy Department says it has updated its assessment upon the discovery of new intelligence, according to reporting from the Wall Street Journal. Now, this is where I started raising my eyebrows just a little bit. The Energy Department now joins the FBI, which concluded in 2021 that the COVID-19 pandemic began because of a lab leak, and a study by California's Lawrence Livermore National Laboratory concluded in May 2020, just months after the outbreak began, that the virus most likely leaked from the Chinese lab in Wuhan. Okay, hold up. So this is going against everything that the quote-unquote experts, everything that the mainstream media has been telling the American population for the past 3 years. It has been 3 years since this virus broke out, and we had to be locked in our homes. We have just now started to go back to normal, thankfully, in my area, over the past year and a half. But can you imagine all the fear that the government and the mainstream media tried to put into everybody's hearts, make them afraid to even go out, force them to wear masks, force them to take a vaccination whether they wanted to or not? It is just absolutely mind-boggling. And now the mainstream media has to go back and say that the U.S. Department of Energy is actually saying that a lab leak is very likely. When 2 years ago, or hell, even 1 year ago, you were labeled a conspiracy theorist for just saying that a lab leak is possible. Okay. How does any of this make sense? How is it that we can take a look at the Wuhan Institute of Virology, which is right next to the wet market where the virus supposedly came out from? So you mean to tell me that I'm supposed to believe that the Wuhan Institute of Virology has nothing to do with this virus, even though it is right across the street from where the virus supposedly came out at? You know, you can't make this up. You can't talk about the possibilities of that actually being true. I am of the opinion that you need to follow Occam's razor, where the lack of evidence essentially means that you need to go with the most likely scenario. Most likely scenario is it's most likely a lab leak. Now, what does China have to say about the new reporting that has just come out from the Department of Energy? Well, China is not too happy with this new information, with this new intelligence report. Let's read from the Daily Wire. China responds to the U.S. Energy Department's revised Wuhan lab leak theory. China officials said Monday that, quote, certain parties, end quote, should stop politicizing the origins of COVID after the U.S. Department of Energy assessed the virus likely leaked from the laboratory in Wuhan, China. During a press conference, Chinese Foreign Ministry's spokesperson Mao Ning said that, quote, origins tracing, end quote, of the virus should be referred back to a March 2021 report published by China and the World Health Organization officials, which concluded with an extremely unlikely verdict about the lab leak theory. Okay, so think about it from China's point of view. Do you want to admit to the world that a virology building in your country was the reason for the lockdowns across the world? Was the reason for the number of deaths throughout the world? No, you don't want to take blame for that. You don't want anything to do with that. Whether you did or not, that's not the point. The point is, you don't want to be the one holding the bag with the blame. Let's continue. Quote, certain parties should stop rehashing the lab leak narrative, stop smearing China, and stop politicizing origins tracings, end quote, Ning said after defending the joint WHO-China report she claims she received by the international community. U.S. Energy Department officials revised a previous document that judged with, quote, low confidence, end quote, that the virus had leaked from a Chinese laboratory. Wow. Okay. So, who are we supposed to believe? Are we supposed to believe the World Health Organization from 2 years ago? Are we supposed to believe China's response to this from a news perspective from 2 years ago? Or are we supposed to believe the U.S. Department of Energy, which just came out with this reporting over the weekend? You know, far be it from me. I don't like to always use sources from multiple years ago. I don't like using sources from people who do not like our way of living, and I would much rather believe that the U.S. Department of Energy has Americans' best interests at heart. I would like to believe that their intelligence is solid and that it is true that it is most likely coming from the lab. But with that being said, I don't know. I'm just a peon. I'm just a guy who's reading news articles, telling everybody what's going on, and trying to wake some people up to this nonsense that's going on in the world. Anyway, that is my rant for the day. That is going to be my solo adventure of the Whiskey Boys. Now, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to our channel, the Whiskey Boys at Whiskey Boy Pod, and tune in live every Thursday at 7 p.m. for our live broadcast with myself, and my two co-hosts. Sometimes we have special guests, sometimes we have the fourth one. Wyatt's been a little sketchy here lately, but you know what? Hopefully he'll be on Thursday. And I just gotta say thank you all for listening, and I'll tune in next week for another episode.